I thought that the iPad was going to be a monumentally influential device. I thought it was going to revolutionize the way that I worked and that it was going to open up all of these creative possibilities. After having it for just a few months now, I can safely say that I was wrong. Quick caveat before I go any further on this one. I wasn't going to release this video because I sold the iPad shortly after making this video. Then DaVinci got brought out. Then some other stuff happened, new iPads, things like that. I wasn't going to release it because I thought it was redundant now. But then I watched it again and I thought, no, makes sense. Let's put it out there with this in there because you probably don't need an iPad. So why did I want one in the first place? What hole was I trying to fill? Well, there was a couple of them. I'd waited till Capture One was launched because I thought that it was going to be an incredible device for tethered photography and super fast editing. I thought that I'd be able to have it on a shoot with the images going straight from the camera to it. Myself then or client would be able to preview the images with a basic edit already applied. They would be able to do the selects, and then say on the train back from a shoot, I'd be able to jump in, tweak the edits, remove dust, blemishes, then send it over to Affinity to do more advanced retouching, then export them all, upload them, all desktop free. Secondly, even though there is no Final Cut Pro on the iPad, I thought that I would be able to easily edit video with something like LumaFusion. The touchscreen, the M1 processor, it all seemed like it was coming together to create a beautiful, laid back, quite literally, video editing experience. I also wanted to experiment with Procreate, the drawing app, but more importantly, the animation side of it. I'd be able to use this on client videos as titles and transitions, as well as right here on YouTube for my own videos. Lastly, I wanted a place for all my notes and sketches. I take notes in meetings, we all do, but I usually do it on scraps of paper that I then have to organize and digitize in some way. I thought that the iPad was going to be an elegant way to keep all of that together. So how did it fail me? Well, Capture One is really shit on the iPad. I hate the subscription model, even if it is really cheap. The tethering has finally been released, but at this point, I'm not sure I can even be bothered. There are only the most basic of editing features. It doesn't take advantage of the Apple Pencil at all. I thought I'd be able to do retouching and masking, because that makes a lot of sense that you'd be able to do that, but no, not as yet. The workflow is awful. To go between Capture One and Affinity is so ungraceful that it's not worth doing for more than an image or two. And so I tried going between Capture One on the iPad and on my desktop, and that was pretty bad too. I thought that maybe I could retire my Wacom and send all of my Affinity photo work from the studio to the iPad. But again, with the unelegant workflow, Affinity on desktop is so quick. On the iPad, it just feels so like unconnected. You cannot have multiple tabs open in the same way you can on a desktop, and for better or for worse, that is the way I like to work. Once you have an image in Affinity, the tools are amazing. Affinity is by far the star of the show when it comes to the iPad, but even that had its flaws. I shot some cutouts for a tea brand and the images ended up with these artifacts. I missed them before sending it out, and the client came back to me. It was a weird glitch. It's probably not something that would happen again, but it really just didn't inspire confidence. LumaFusion was not for me. I rely heavily on keyboard shortcuts. LumaFusion just ended up feeling slow and clunky. I'm actually able to edit better on my old 2015 MacBook Pro in HD or with proxies, but still, it works. Then I overestimated my desire to animate. I love doing stop motion animation when it's physical and tactile. I have this awesome system and software called DragonFrame. It comes with this cool number pad thing to work in just a more tactile way. I do not, it turns out, have the same feeling about hand-drawn animation. Even though I've tried out hand-drawn animation in the past to make my logo, check out this video up here if you want to see a piece of free software for animating on the desktop. So as fun as Procreate was, it wasn't for me. Notes, on the other hand, I did like, but do you know what's better than a £700 screen with a premium paper emulating screen protector on. Paper. I still find I have to have notes in multiple places. I thought that Apple Notes would work. I used that software since its inception, and I really love having my notes organized in there. I thought it would be the best implementation of pencil support. You would think that. It's made by the same people. It is not. You need to use other apps, and the better ones are either freemium, where you have to pay to unlock the features that you really need, or subscription. And I hate subscription. So I've naturally gravitated back to taking notes on paper. It's so much easier to sketch and move around a page with actual paper. I guess I just need to be more organized. I also find myself, when I want to write long form things, gravitating back to my MacBook, the 2015 15-inch MacBook. It's maybe not the best computer in the world. It turns off sometimes because the battery's a bit out of whack. But the keyboard is so nice to use for long form stuff that it's just the best way for me to get my thoughts out and onto the page, so to speak. So in conclusion, the iPad hardware is incredible. The things that it does well, it does very, very well. I could see if I was a slightly different kind of creative that I might be able to use it within its limits and enjoy the process. But I guess I'm just set in my ways and I'm just not able to conform to its idiosyncrasies. I've grown up with macOS. I jumped in before the transition to Intel, and I've just gotten used to the way that it works. I know it has changed over the years, but it's still fundamentally the same as what I started using. I can feel the software of the iPad getting better, but it's just not there yet. I don't think that the Magic Keyboard is a particularly elegant solution. It's worse than a MacBook Pro experience. The pencil is amazing, but it's limited in its uses that I have for it. I know that Capture One will catch up eventually and add in masking and spot removal, and that will be great, but it's just not there at the moment. I'm sure that LumaFusion will get better, or Final Cut Pro will be launched and it'll just work better. And the iPad will be an incredible tool. It just isn't an incredible tool for me at the moment. Some other things to note that I thought I would use. I thought I would use it as a second monitor. Again, the implementation is fine, but it's not as good as just a regular monitor. I thought that maybe I could use something like Duet Display to use it as a tablet as like a drawing tablet for the studio. Again, no. It just isn't as good as the Wacom. And so whilst it does a lot of these things well, it doesn't do them as well as dedicated pieces of hardware. Because of that, it's not for me at the moment. I'm going to trade it in. I hope this helped you in some way. If it stops you making the mistake of spending a load of money on a product that isn't quite for you, then I've done my job here. But I really just wanted to rant about how I don't like the iPad. It's fine, but it's definitely not an essential tool for a photographer or filmmaker. It's fine. Later. Thank you for watching this video. This is hopefully going to be the start of a series entitled You Probably Don't Need A. This is not a way of me saying that these things are bad. This is just me saying, I bought this. Here's the reasons I regret it. And it's just kind of a catchy title. You probably don't need an iPad. You probably don't need a GoPro. You probably don't need a medium format camera. Yeah, I bought a medium format camera, a digital one. Don't get too excited. It's like 100 years old. It's not 100 years old. It's from 2004, which is roughly 100 years ago.